Alright, what cute moment do we do today? Number 4. Okay. Looks like we're getting some charity. There we go. Boop. Oh, I like your shirt. That's great. Orca. Very nice, very nice. Cove pushed himself to his feet from where he had been bent down in the sand, stretching out his back and groaning softly. A tired breath slipped past his lips as he wiped his brow, looking out over the shore.
It looks great.
You stood beside him, joining in the surveying of the sand that almost seemed to sparkle beneath the midday sun. The two of you had been out on the beach since sunrise, cleaning up and down the beach, looking for various debris, and the work had paid off. Nice. Using a hand to shield your eyes from blinding rays, you glanced across the way where the other volunteers from Orca were gathered. They were easily recognizable by the high-vis vests they wore. That's a very nice logo that Orca has, I gotta say. It looked as though everyone was about ready to wrap things up for the day. Yeah, this one. I'm happy to see it in a better state. It was pretty sad looking when we got here. The beaches of this town were practically your own, personal backyard, and you visited them a lot. It felt good knowing that you were helping to take care of them.
Too bad not everybody sees the joy in putting trash where it belongs. Oh well.
Cove placed his hands on his hips, a pleased grin pulling at the corners of his mouth as he admired the work you'd both done. You had begun to realize, during your time volunteering for the organization, how seriously Cove took his service. It was easy to see that it was something important to him. I felt equally as invested. I enjoyed the work, but mostly wanted to have a good time. Miranda was right, you volunteered because it was a good reference. You didn't want to be there, but you didn't know how to turn it down. I would have felt equally as invested. I always give 110% for things. If I'm doing it, I'm gonna do my best. It was important that the ocean you grew up with was protected. It had always been a big part of your life, and you felt that the least you could do was give back to it in some way.
Molly.
Hey.
Hey, nice work, Molly.
Thanks.
It's been a good year so far. It's crazy to think that it's already time to push the big event.
You let out a big breath, thinking of the formal dinner that Orca organized every year. Being a completely fundraising-focused event for large donors, it was crucial for the organization's projects in the year to come. You had to be over 18 to attend, so this was your first opportunity to actually see it in person. Nice. All you had heard about it so far was that it was a prim and proper occasion, with speeches and everything. As long as I don't have to give a speech, that's fine. You didn't know what else to expect from it, as you weren't a part of the group who planned the evening. Before the big night came around, the volunteers would have to sell the tickets for it, and that's where you'd be helping. Yeah. I'm curious about the night. It might be fun. I've never been to a professional type party. Cove nodded, though he still seemed reluctant.
I just don't feel excited about attending a super formal meal with proper etiquette and stuff, you know?
I know, I mean, how will you resist the urge to wipe your hands on your pants? He threw his arms out to the side, making a bit of a show at how ridiculous it seemed to him.
I've got sand all over my room and only one nice shirt, and I go barefoot pretty much whenever I can. I'm gonna be so out of place.
Oh, come on, I know you can clean up nice. I know. I mean, he probably would rather stay out here. I'd also would rather be at the beach than at a formal dinner. But I also want to, like, encourage him. Doing something that fancy will make it fun. How often do we get the chance to dress up nice or eat an expensive meal? Cove chuckled and shook his head at you in amusement. A small beeping noise came from Cove's pant pocket and he pulled it out and glanced at the screen.
Huh?
It's the organizers. They sent a text to the group. Time to call it a day here.
Alright, ready to head to our next activity? Cove tucked his cell away eagerly, turning to you.
Let's head over and drop the trash bags off at the trucks. Then we can drive back and join the ticket team. We've got to be there pretty soon to relieve them.
With a stretch of shore this long, the plan was to switch places with the other team who had been pushing the tickets for the fundraising dinner halfway through. It would be a full day of work, but it was Orca's largest event of the year, and all hands were on deck to make sure it was a success. He started pushing Cove on the back to go! One of these two. Although, at my height, I probably would be nudging his elbow, so you know what? We're gonna go for the high five. Cove's palm slapped solidly against yours, and he smiled at you crookedly. You collected the trash bags spread along the way together, heading across the beach to hoist them into the trucks before heading off to the next job. The drive back to your neighborhood and making your way to the shopping street was fairly quick, though Cove stressed a little about being late. Luckily, he was able to find a parking spot nice and close to where you needed to be. You jumped out of the car and quickly went towards where you knew the group would be. Finally reaching the stall that was set up to sell tickets, you stopped for a moment to catch your breath. That was quite the flurry of activity. It would be your job for the rest of the afternoon to help sell tickets for the fundraising dinner, and looking around the street, you saw that there were plenty of potential buyers out today. That would hopefully help to move the tickets along. The stall itself was simple. A portable table with a few plush sea animals as decorations and a banner stuck across the front. There were two volunteers who were already packing up and getting ready to head off to the beach. They gave both of you a friendly smile as you arrived. Hey Cove, Molly, how'd things go at the beach?
Not bad.
It was good. The place is looking great.
We're lucky to get a 2-for-1 when it comes to you guys.
Cove cleared his throat awkwardly from beside you, and you noticed his cheeks flushing pink.
Come on, we're not that clingy with each other.
I don't know, I kind of think we are, though. Yeah. Yeah, this. You could tell that they weren't trying to embarrass you on purpose, but you wish they hadn't said anything at all. The volunteers made room for you and Cove behind the table while they circled around to the front of it. Thanks for coming in for a shift. We'd better make this quick so we can head off to the next place.
Yeah, fine.
We're ready for whatever is needed. One of the volunteers handed you a clipboard with all the details needed to sell tickets, while the other tossed a set of keys to Cove, which he caught with ease. Those are for the money box and supply kit. Make sure to keep them on you at all times.
Aside from handling the cash for the tickets, there's also a form on the clipboard for the guests to fill in their info. That way we know how many tickets we've sold and who will be attending the event.
There's a small script beneath that if you get stuck for what to say, and that's about it. Pretty simple, huh?
Uh-huh.
I think we've got this.
Satisfied that you knew what you were doing, the volunteers said their goodbyes and started walking away, leaving you and Cove to manage the stall alone. The keys jingled in his hand as Cove waved them off before he stuffed them into the pocket of his pants for safekeeping. You gave them a small wave goodbye as they left. Once the volunteers were out of sight, Cove dropped down into a chair behind the counter with a sigh.
Oh, we made it here just in time. It's cool we traded places with nothing happening. They might have been late getting to cleanup duty.
He leaned back in his seat, getting fully comfortable in the space, and gave you a small smile. I will take the other seat. It was just a simple plastic chair that squeaked when you sat on it, but it gave you a good view of the street. Yeah, I'll return the smile. It had been a bit of a mad rush to get here, but everything had turned out alright in the end. Ko rummaged around the station a little, picking up a stuffed toy orca and holding it up in front of his face. You had to admit that it was pretty cute, with its big bulging eyes and oversized flippers. Setting it back down on top of the table, Cove moved on to check out the rest of the stall, finding a cooler stashed beneath the table. Nice. When he pulled it out and opened the lid, you could see that it was filled with half-melted ice cubes and about half a dozen bottles of water. Grabbing one of the plastic bottles, he unscrewed the cap and took a long drink. You watched the condensation running along the side and onto his fingers.
So?
Do you want one?
Cove set his water on his side of the table before pulling out another, holding it out towards you. Yes, please. Thanks. After opening it up, you took a drink and let out a satisfied sigh. You hadn't realized how thirsty you had been, and it was always good to stay hydrated. The two of you got settled in easily, and you took the chance to look over the paperwork on the clipboard. Cove joined you, leaning over your shoulder to get a better look.
Seems like pretty standard stuff.
He muttered, and you nodded quietly. It had general info about the event and the work you needed to do at the stall, as well as the amount of tickets sold thus far and the number remaining. Cove tapped a finger on the counter as he read quietly over the notes, muttering a few things now and then that you didn't fully hear. He seemed content to be there, and you were sure that the afternoon would pass by quickly. When he glanced out towards the crowd and made a small sound, you followed his line of sight to see that a potential supporter was on their way over to the booth. Anxiety! It wasn't always easy for you to do things like this, especially when those things require talking to strangers, but you had to remind yourself that you were doing it for a reason. Taking in a deep breath, you made eye contact with the customer and gave them a small smile. Time passed as the two of you manned the stall, and as people approached, your sales pitch would either have them asking for a ticket or two, or heading off and mumbling, maybe next time. All in all, you managed to sell a decent amount of tickets, and you could tell that Cove was happy with the outcome. Cool. As the afternoon drifted along, 6 p.m. arrived, time to pack everything up and head home for the evening. Your work with Orca was far from over, but right now there was only one thing left to focus on: attending the actual event. I am so interested how this is going to go. The days continued on in a normal flow, and before long, the night of the Orca fundraising dinner was upon you. It was early evening, and you were in your room getting ready as the minutes ticked closer and closer towards the time you needed to leave. Sheesh. I would love to have Liz here to help me pick out an outfit. Do I want Cove on speakerphone, though? You know what? I'm going to flip a coin, and we'll see if Cove called while Liz was helping me pick out an outfit. Heads he did not, tails he did. Hiya! He did! Okay. Let's do it. You were currently in the midst of picking out an outfit, which Liz was helping you with, while Cove gave his input from the phone. Of course, Cove couldn't see any of the items you and Liz were choosing between, but he was trying to help all the same. The event had strict guidelines, and you wouldn't be let in unless you were dressed to code. That meant having to find a truly professional outfit, but one that you were also happy with. I like dressing fancy. There were a couple of outfits that didn't get nearly as much use as you would have liked, and now was the time to show them off. You smiled as you picked your way through the items, your excitement shining bright.
That's fine.
You don't need to get too in your head thinking about the look, but you do need to hurry up and pick something.
At this rate, you're gonna have a better time picking out your outfit than at the party itself. But whatever you go with, it'll be great.
Oh, aren't you helpful? Don't push me. Thanks for talking it through with me. I never thought I'd see the day when Cove Holden would encourage me to wear something formal. One of these two. Yeah, I'll laugh. I'll laugh a little for both their sakes. It really shouldn't be this difficult to pick something out. You just needed to take the plunge and do it. Taking a deep breath to refocus yourself, you looked over the options one last time. It was time to decide on an outfit, and quick! A dress, a button-down shirt and pants, a blouse and pants, a button-down shirt and a skirt, a blouse and a skirt. I like dresses, so I'm gonna go dress. Liz nodded in approval, clapping her hands together, satisfied.
Good.
Finally, we're making some progress.
That sounds like it'd be totally fine. I'm wearing just a shirt with buttons and slacks, personally.
Sounds good. Standing in front of your mirror, you quietly assessed your outfit. Yeah, an accessory or two. I needed a little something extra to finish it all off. A little panache. Rummaging through the rest of your wardrobe, you picked out what you needed to complete your outfit. Definitely a necklace. Turning back to the mirror, you let Liz drape your best necklace around your neck and clasp it together at the back. Thank you. I would also like a pair of earrings. Hello? I don't actually know what that is. My phone's just making noises. Great. A pair of earrings. You hurry to put on a pair of earrings to match your outfit, aware that time was running short. And for my boy, I gotta wear an anklet. You had to quickly remove your shoes to slip on the anklet before stepping back into them again. Okay. Got all the important things. I could wear a ring. How old am I again? 18? I was kind of coming out of my ring era. I definitely wasn't wearing bracelets anymore. Shawls aren't really my thing. Never liked hats. Not really. Like, I like to collect gorgeous hats, but I don't like wearing hats. As weird as that sounds. I don't like things on my head, but I like the style of some hats, and I just collect them. I'm weird. Ring? No ring. You know what? I'll put on a ring. You couldn't leave the house without slipping on that. Holding your hand up to the light, you quietly admired the way it glinted. Alright, and now that was everything. And with that... makeup time. Leaning up in front of the mirror again, you grabbed your makeup bag and applied what you needed. Whoa. Foundation for sure. Using a small sponge, you applied a base over your skin to help make it smooth and glowing. Nice. And then, definitely need some eyeliner. You carefully... This is my get ready with me, apparently, today. We start with the foundation, and then we put the eyeliner on. You carefully applied the liner to give your eyes more definition and presence. And then... If I put nail polish on right before going out, it would be a disaster. So I'm not... I should have done the nail polish, like, yesterday or 2 days ago. So I'm not doing that today. I probably would put lipstick on for this event. I would rather have lip gloss, but lipstick is fine. You applied your lipstick carefully, smoothing your lips together to make sure the color was even. And I think body glitter is a bit too much for a professional event, so I'm not going to do the body glitter. Oh, I could have done lip gloss. Hold on. Wait. Can I go back? Ooh. Okay. Put the eyeliner on. The foundation. Should have done that in the other order, but it's fine. Okay. Yes, lip gloss. I didn't even see lip gloss was an option. There we go. Popping the wand out of the tube, you applied a glossy sheen to your lips and puckered them together. Okay, perfect. And with that, I'm amazed you can put lip gloss and lipstick at the same time. Okay, and eyeshadow. No, you know what? I think eyeshadow might be a bit... It depends on the color of the eyeshadow. I think I'm just gonna leave it. That'll be everything for today. Finally, you were dressed. It had all come together.
Okay, just gotta change my shirt and then I'll be at the car. See you in a minute.
I can't wait to see what he looks like. When you looked at Liz again, she had a goofy smile pulling at her lips. You look very nice, Molly. Now you're talking like our moms. Thank you. And thanks for helping me out. I'm sure it wasn't easy. Liz laughed softly and ruffled your hair, but only barely. Not enough to actually mess it up, thank you. You've got that one right. But you know I'm here whenever you need it. Liz wiped a pretend tear away with her finger, sniffling dramatically. Oh, precious Molly, you're really all grown up. It happened in the blink of an eye when I wasn't even looking. She chuckled to herself, nudging you towards the door.
All right.
Time to get downstairs. Your special boy awaits. You carefully headed down the stairs and into the living room where your moms were waiting for your appearance. Hi, Moms. As you entered, they both stood from the couch and came over to you, smiling broadly.
You look so wonderful, Molly.
Nice.
And very mature, too.
I know, right? They continued to coo and fuss over you until you managed to brush them off. Ma took Mom by the arm and held her close, the two of them admiring you proudly. Aw, thanks, guys. I already got this from Liz. Yeah, you know what? Just thank you. I don't know what you... I mean, can kind of understand why they're making a big deal of it. And I don't want to be like, ugh. So, thank you. It felt a little strange to have everyone's attention on you, but you liked it nonetheless. Liz smiled at you from where she stood, her expression soft. Ma came in to give you one last hug, and before you knew it, another pair of arms was wrapped around you, and then a third. Yay, group hug! Both Mom and Liz giggled as they hugged you tight.
We hope you have so much fun tonight.
Have fun.
We won't wait up for you. Stay out as long as you need. You're old enough now.
Wow, thanks, Ma. You're so cool. With a last wave goodbye, you left your family and approached the front door. It was time. Stepping out into the night, you closed the door behind you gently and looked out across the street. Ooh! Damn! You look great! Awesome! Cove was standing there in the street. His eyes met yours immediately, as if he had been watching your house for the moment you would come out. He smiled bashfully.
Hey, Molly.
Hi. You took the chance to check over his outfit. Yeah, I did, as he walked across the way to meet you. It was formal for sure, though didn't feel overly posh. It made sense for him and was honestly a sight for sore eyes. He was always beautiful to you. Aww. He looked you over as well, a subtle blush creeping over his face as he quickly cleared his throat and averted his gaze. Mm-hmm.
You...
He seemed to be struggling to find something to say, rubbing at the exposed part of his arm awkwardly.
Thank you for coming with me and for dressing really nicely for this. Your outfit, it's good. Better than good, really. Great, I guess. Something else? So, yeah.
I noticed the anklet! Yes! Yes! I love it. And now we know that his comment was sincere because he complimented me before he saw the anklet. His gaze traveled downwards to take in your full form, and he suddenly froze, his eyes widening on what you were sure was the tasteful anklet peeking out from above your shoes. Cove turned his very red face away from you, and you peered at him adoringly as he mumbled to himself. These guys are so cute.
Oh my god.
As you imagined, the choice of accessory had him fully flustered. You knew how he felt about them, and he knew that you knew how he felt about them. The purposefulness of teasing him this way likely had an even bigger impact than even seeing you in the anklet. I'm so curious, like, do you have the anklet option if you don't learn that he likes it? Or do you have it, and then you're like, why is he flustered? Because you don't know what it is about your outfit is making him flustered if you put the anklet on? So curious. You started to wonder if it was a good idea after all. Cove acting like that was killing you, and you hadn't even started the trip to the dinner yet. It was worth it! It took a great amount of effort to focus your thoughts and react to his overall assessment to your look. Oh, right, Why is my character so thirsty at 18, man? Like, damn, you look great. You know what? I'll return your compliment with another compliment, and then we can be awkward together. Your look is very nice, too. You glanced over him from head to toe, noting that his shirt, pants, and shoes were all shiny and new. Very nice indeed. He ducked his head a little to hide his expression, but you didn't need to see it to know he was pleased that you had said so.
Thanks.
Then he shook his head, glanced back towards the garage, and throwing a thumb over his shoulder, spoke.
Come on.
We should probably get going. Wouldn't want to be late to such a grown-up event, right?
Yeah, let's go. You headed over to Cove's car together, hopping in and strapping on your seatbelts. You were on your way. The event was being held at a place you had never been to before. You brought up the location on your phone to help Cove navigate there. This is like me and my husband. I'm the one that does the navigating, and he drives. It took some time to find the right address, and once there, you were met with the task of finding a parking spot. Though you were on time, It seemed like everyone else had already showed up and claimed the spaces. Eventually, you found a suitable place before realizing that it required payment. Cove covered the amount, taking a ticket from the machine and leaving it on the dashboard of the car. Wow! Holy schwanky. Holy... Yo, Cove, what do you think about getting married here one day? It's pretty awesome with, like, the aquariums and things. Just saying. Despite the small holdup, you managed to ultimately make it to the event and confirm you were on the guest list before being shown into the dining area. Cove whistled low as he looked around, taking in the extravagance of the room. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and the entire place was decked out with beautiful oceanic displays. You were stunned yourself. It was extremely high class, even more so than you had already expected. could be worse. This is the best looking event I've ever been to. Your lips parted in a wondrous smile as you took in the decorations and the guests all dressed to the nines. Cove met your eyes with a similar look on his face. You got the impression that he felt the same way about it all, right? I mean, look at this place! It's amazing! The sound of your names being called out echoed over the din in the room. When you looked around, you recognized a couple of the organization leaders looking your way. They approached you both in greeting, giving you a welcoming smile and a hello.
Cove, Molly, we're glad to see you could make it, especially after all the hard work you've done to help make this night happen.
Of course.
Definitely. I wasn't gonna miss it.
You say that as if we had a choice. I wouldn't miss it either. This is our big night. Of course we had to see what we were working towards. Well, thank you for being a part of the team. You're always welcome to help us out with activities whenever they come up. Thank you. Cove shrugged then, eyes darting around the place with an awkward look.
So...
I guess we should talk to more people. There isn't much else to do at an event like this.
You found your way into groups of people who were standing around chatting while some light music played in the background. Servers with large silver trays were gliding between the guests offering drinks and canopies. Cove was clearly hesitant to actually approach the people, but was able to respond when various people greeted him first. That's kind of how I handle things too. You weren't so good in social situations yourself, so mostly followed Cove around and joined in on his conversations. Luckily, everyone there that night was polite. The sound of a microphone crackling came from the podium at the other end of the room. Someone who you assumed must be the host for the evening was asking everyone to sit down in preparation for the meal and speeches. You and Cove looked for your table, finding it easily enough by the little name cards that were placed delicately besides the napkins. A few others joined you at the table, though they weren't anyone that you recognized. The host was still speaking as people were settling, starting off the speeches by giving a welcome to everyone attending. She went on to provide some more information about Orca, which you suppose was for the guests who weren't a part of the organization, and the purpose of the fundraiser tonight. Orca's goals, as she explained it, were to aid in the conservation and restoration of oceans and beaches. There were many people who had helped to make the group as successful as it was. When she read off a list of several volunteers who worked on making the event happen, Cove's name was one of the first to come up. His cheeks flushed with shy pride at that, yay. Your name then came up a little further down the list. You were smiling from ear to ear at the mention. As she continued on to thank the large donors for the event, you checked over at Cove. He was still grinning happily to himself and tapping his fingers over the tops of his knees, pretty pleased to have been mentioned by name. Yeah, I could relate to that feeling. It felt good to be acknowledged for all the work you had done leading up to the event. You likely had kept smiling without even realizing it. While the host continued speaking, multiple servers dressed in black were setting the first course of the menu in front of guests. One of the servers set down a plate in front of you and you thanked them quietly before looking over the dish with interest. You recognized the dish as a simple Caesar salad. The host quickly wrapped up the end of her speech, thanking everyone once more before inviting you all to begin your meal. Anyone who had included a special dietary note when signing up for the event received a vegan or vegetarian version, and there were also small baskets of bread set around the table. Aw, yeah, bread. I would eat the Caesar salad is my favorite type of salad, so I would definitely eat that and the bread. Cove wolfed down his salad before munching into a breadstick, quickly devouring that as well.
I hope the next part comes out soon and is bigger.
You could hear him mumbling to himself as he reached over for another piece of bread. He glanced around the table and he followed his line of sight with curiosity, noting that everyone else was still eating the salad. Stopping his hand mid-air, he quickly pulled back and rested it on his lap without taking another breadstick after all. It was clear that he was starting to feel unsure of himself, and he looked a little out of place here. He folded his arms and turned away from them to you.
Hey, did you like the salad?
It was really good. I can't wait to see what else they serve. His gaze remained purposely tunneled on you, as if he was trying not to even think about what the rest of the table might be doing. He made silly faces. He picked up a breadstick and gave it to Cove. You discreetly flipped the other guests off. Either this or this. Probably this. His lips tilted up at the corners, and he seemed touched by the reassurance. I got you. It wasn't much longer until the main course was arriving, and the various chicken, steak, and veggie dishes were being served throughout the room. An array of scents wafted through the room, making your mouth water. I would have gone with the chicken, probably. I think by this point I had been turned off steak. I went through a summer where my parents invited somebody over like every weekend, and every weekend we had steak, and by the end of the summer I'm like, I never want to see steak again. I'm still not really over it. I can eat steak again now, but I'm still like, I'd rather have chicken. A plate of perfectly roasted chicken and vegetables was set in front of you with a delectable pale gravy. Cove had gone for the steak, and once he started to dig in, he was completely absorbed by his meal. Nice. You're gonna choke. You kicked him under the table teasingly. Yeah, probably. The tips of your toes knocked against his shin discreetly, but enough for him to really feel it. He bolted upright in shock, almost choking on his mouthful of food. The look he gave you was far from impressed, but his eyes still held a glint of amusement. You threw your gaze away from him innocently, as though you had done nothing at all. When you peeked to see if you had gotten off scot-free, he rolled his eyes and returned to his meal. You chuckled lightly beneath your breath, and he did the same, thoroughly entertained. Dinner eventually ended, and last of all was dessert. A lemon sorbet that had been partially dyed blue. Ooh, fancy. The mix of white with bold streaks of blue made the little scoop look like a ball of roaring ocean waves. The effect was very pretty, but the serving size was small. Perhaps it was the price to pay for artistry. You turned to Cove to find him pouting a little at the size of it. Digging into the dessert, it took him only a few bites to polish it off. Again, the other people around the table had barely even begun eating. An unimpressed air settled over him as he sat back in his chair, sipping at his water unhappily. We can get more dessert later. You gave him an encouraging smile. He looked up at you sheepishly, embarrassed to have been caught sulking over such a thing. He fumbled for a defense.
I mean...
It was just really good, that's all, and now it's gone. But I'm okay.
With a slight grin, he shrugged to show that he was really fine. Would you like a bite of mine? You scooped up a spoonful of your sorbet and offered it to him, holding a hand beneath it to avoid any drips. His eyes widened as he eyed the dessert hungrily, surprised by the offer. Recovering quickly, he leaned forward over the table, lifting out of the chair a little as he ate the treat from your spoon. Didn't even worry about it this time. As he sat back, humming happily with his mouth full, you couldn't help but smile at the sight. Cove swallowed the faux ocean and let out a satisfied sigh. Even though it wasn't that much more, the simple fact that he had gotten more hit the spot. Nice. Because I'm like, I want to eat this sorbet too, man.
Thanks.
I got you. You're welcome. You thought back on the way he used to be so terrified of sampling food that was yours, and now he hardly batted an eye, right? It was always amazing when you were struck with how he'd grown and how he stayed the same. Another person from Orca got up on stage to make a speech as everyone was nearing the end of their meal. They spoke mostly about the individual projects that the organization was working on, and their plans for the near future, as well as encouraging anyone who was interested to consider volunteering. Cove bent forward over the table with his chin balanced on a hand, listening attentively to the words. As they came to a conclusion and everyone gave them a round of applause, Cove caught your eye and smiled. You wondered what would happen now. Ooh. And then the lights dimmed. A couple of spotlights came on, projecting a water light effect around the room. The guests gushed over the ambience, and you looked around with wide eyes at the ripples on the walls. The DJ, that had previously been playing some soft mood music in the background, announced that the floor was open for dancing, slowly turning the volume up so it drifted through the space. When you glanced at Cove, his eyebrows had shot up and he mumbled quietly.
Huh. I didn't know there would be dancing. I guess it makes sense now that I think about it.
That is a really... Look at this. What a cool effect. It even has, like, the light ripples on him. That is so good. What great attention to detail. He gave an awkward laugh as you both watched as people rose from their seats. It was clear now that many of the donors were couples. A small crowd had started to form on the dance floor, and the DJ played a romantic song to get everyone started off. Wow. Yeah, these fish, though. Cove let his gaze float over the small sea of guests, and he seemed lost in thought. A serious expression had settled on his face, making his eyebrows dip. Slowly, he turned to you, though there was something cautious in his approach.
Well...
You know how much I love to dance, yes!
Do you... I mean, would you want to dance with me?
I'd love to. His face lit up. You could tell even beneath the dim light. He nodded firmly as he rose from his seat, though you noticed his hand shaking at his sides. Ah, so cute! You walked out onto the floor together, hesitating a little when you turned and stood face to face. Cove had a hard time meeting your eyes, but he lifted a hand for you to take, unsure of what else he was meant to do. You tentatively accepted his hand, hoping yours wasn't trembling too much against his. It took some doing, but amidst your nervous laughter, you managed to find a comfortable enough position and set a rhythm to the music. It was quite nice after that. Every time your eyes met Cove's, he would look away quickly, but he seemed to be enjoying the dance nonetheless. Eventually, he felt comfortable enough to speak.
A lot has happened, huh?
You nodded faintly. You weren't sure if he meant just today, this summer, or your entire time knowing each other. But it didn't really matter. It was true either way. Thinking back on the years that you and Cove had been neighbors, it was difficult to even try to reflect on it all at once.
I'm so glad.
I'm glad we ended up here.
He gave you a soft look, and you beamed, knowing that could also mean many things. But from his tone, you were certain he didn't only mean here at this event. It was more than that. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. The party eventually started to wind down, and at last it came to an end. When the main lights turned on, you blinked against the brightness of them, making sure you still had Cove in your sights. One final speaker came up to the podium on the stage, thanking all the guests for coming and wishing everyone a good night. It was bittersweet to see it come to a close. Your time with Cove here was precious. At least the memories could be brought with you. Giving the space one more look, you walked together with Cove out to the parking lot. The other guests were doing the same, so you got stuck in a bit of a crowd. Though Cove was so tall you could always see him, and it was easy enough not to get separated. Thank you, tall boy. The parking lot itself was quite big, and even more noticeable now with fewer cars blocking the view. It took a little while to actually locate Cove's car across its expanse. Eventually you found it, and the two of you bundled inside the vehicle and buckled up. The trip home was quiet as you both silently reflected back on the experience. The event had been the biggest night of the year for Orca, and now it was all over, just like that. Outside your window, the surroundings soon became familiar, and you found yourselves back in your neighborhood. Cove pulled the car into his driveway and put it in park before letting out a relieved breath.
Home sweet home.
Yeah. After climbing out of the car, you walked slowly down to the road, Cove coming over to stand beside you. You stopped in the middle of the street. right between your house and his, and turned to him, finding him in the process of opening his mouth to speak. Strangely, he clamped his lips together as though he had suddenly thought better of it. Thank you for taking me tonight.
Thanks for coming with me.
Step in for the hug? Yeah, step in for the hug. You went forward and wrapped your arms around him, and he returned the gesture, squeezing tight.
Night.
With a last, wispy smile, he left towards his front door. Figuring you shouldn't linger in the street for much longer, you crossed the remainder of the road and did the same. When you reached your house, you pulled out your keys and stuck them in the door, trying your best to be silent about it. Opening the door a crack, you turned back and looked at Cove from over your shoulder. Your eyebrows lifted in surprise to see he was doing the same, holding his front door open but waiting for you to go inside before he did. So cute! You shared an amused smile before you both stepped into your own houses, locking the door behind you. It was quite late, so everyone else was already asleep. As quiet as a mouse, you tiptoed up to your bedroom and changed out of your formal clothes into your pajamas. Now that you were finally home, you were exhausted. You brushed your teeth and got ready for bed in darkness before crawling under the covers and letting out a heavy breath. It was still strange to think about how that was it. The build-up to the event had felt like so much, now it was completely behind you. Your mind was busy with rapid yet muddled thoughts as you faded closer and closer to sleep. As unconsciousness creeped up on you, you felt more content. It was a big deal, but there would be more in the future. You could accept what it had been, and you could dream about what you'd get to experience next. And then you were taken away from dreams, right back into reality by a sound. I'm like, why do I feel like Cove's not done with me yet? Your eyebrows pinched together, fully unprepared to be a part of the waking world again. The day was over, and it had been an eventful one. But you heard another noise. It was a tapping. A tap-tap-tapping on my window. Your eyes flew open. The window. There was a tapping that came from your window. Cove, Holden. Yes? You extricated yourself from your bed, yawning. You stretched your arms and then made your way to the window. There was another tap right before you arrived. When you pulled it wide open, Cove was indeed there. You had not been surprised to find Cove awkwardly crouched on your window ledge. However, you were taken aback to see that he was a little overdressed. Cove hadn't changed out of his formal clothes. Monsieur? Why did you climb up here in your nice outfit? You also noticed that he was perched clumsily. You didn't know if it was because he was trying to keep his fancy clothes clean or if he felt weird about something. His body was too stiff and awkward. Even given that Cove was normally all thumbs, he looked off balance. Is he all thumbs, though? I mean, he can surf, he can climb like nobody's business. Is he really all thumbs? Significantly more than usual. Cove smiled sheepishly.
Hi, Molly.
I love this line. You know what? If I had just woke up from sleep, I probably would have said something stupid like that, so I'm just gonna do it. It's nice to see you, Romeo. You moved aside and let him climb inside. He cautiously stepped down by stretching his legs over. Strangely, he didn't use his hands for support. It was clear to you now he was holding something. When he was safely on his feet, he briefly checked out his clothes, twisting around to see the back of his pants. He caught you looking and shrugged.
I mean...
I did go home after the event, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to settle down, so I just walked back out.
Oh man, same. Like, for events like that, I need to decompress for a good hour or two afterwards. Like, just like let the stress leave my body. I usually go for a walk, or I like get really wrapped up in comfy clothes and watch like junk TV and eat junk food and stuff, and I'm just like decompressing.
I needed fresh air and time away from everything.
He paused for a moment and raised his clasped together hands where you could see them.
But then something happened, and, well, so I have something I want to show you.
Okay. Cove grinned like a child and gently unfurled his fingers, not being able to keep you in suspense for even a minute. You got a firefly! I love that he woke me up to be like, look, I got a firefly! Aw, man, remember when we were first catching fireflies together? Carefully sitting inside was a tiny yellow light. It blinked off and then on again. A firefly. Delicately, he moved his hand closer so you could see the creature better.
They're back.
He looked so happy. He closed his eyes, his smile now faintly illuminated by his insect companion.
Remember the first time I caught one? I always will. I could barely manage anything because of that neon pink cast I was stuck with all summer.
You were still stunned by what was happening, but couldn't help snickering when Cove did.
It was thanks to you that I finally held a firefly in my own hand.
I'm glad I could help you.
Honestly, I didn't think I'd see them this year. I don't know why, it's just they were kind of late, and I guess I've been worrying about a lot of stuff lately.
You could tell that the firefly genuinely lifted his spirits. He seemed at peace, and he wanted to share that with you. The fact that his first thought after discovering the fireflies was to come over and celebrate the joy with you made you suddenly feel very cherished. So sweet. Cove opened his eyes, but he looked away, not meeting yours.
It's nice.
It's really nice, I think. Even if the fireflies disappear for a while, it doesn't mean they're really gone. They'll come back. I can see them again.
Technically, fireflies aren't even gone, they're just eggs and larvae. I feel like he's leading up to something. But I'll smile at him all the same, but I do feel like this is... I don't know what it's leading to, but... And then you looked at the firefly keenly. There was definitely something poetic about them. You felt a warmth in your heart. Cove looked at your face, his smile now fragile.
It makes me think about the two of us. We're together, then we say goodbye, and then we're together again, day after day, year after year. And even if our time apart gets longer, that doesn't make it forever.
Molly.
I'll always be there, whenever you want to see me.
Panic. Relationship panic. Oh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I mean, yes, but also terror. I couldn't. I'd be too scared. I'd still be too scared. You know what? I'm gonna save. And then if we ever want to come back here, we can. I'm a coward. I'm a lily-livered coward. Cove. Come on, Cove. You're being sappy. You're a crazy person. I'll always be there for you, too. Stunned? Oh, gosh. What do I do? Hug him again. Why not? You stepped closer and grabbed Cove into a hug. He made a squeaking sound as he tried to move his hands out of the way, but then laughed when the firefly flew off. He didn't seem to mind the bug's escape too much. Cove chuckled shyly and then hugged you back. His arms wrapped around you tightly, reaffirming that he'd always be there for you. Cove looked at you, affection plain in his face.
Hey, do you want to go out to the hill? The fireflies are still there.
Let's go. Cove brightened. He was practically bouncing at the thought of a secret excursion before he suddenly became bashful.
So
how should we leave? We could just try the door. We don't have to do the window thing, but maybe that'd bother your family?
You'd both chuckled at how awkward it would be if your moms, or worse, Liz, saw you going on a midnight firefly catching trip. You'd be sure to avoid that. Absolutely from the window. Let's go through the window. Cove nodded in understanding. You grabbed some shoes and readied yourself for an adventure. You were glad that there was no way you'd run into another soul outside. Cove would be way overdressed and you were still in your jammies. You let Cove go first. He stepped back onto the ledge as you carefully followed. He shuffled along and soon you reached the garage. You planned to use the fence from there to reach the ground. Cove shakily climbed down to the fence and held it tightly with a death grip. He hesitated for a moment and then let himself fall to the ground. He leaned against the fence and projected hushed words up to where you were waiting.
are you okay?
Do you want help?
Yes? You got to the edge and let Cove spot your descent. He grabbed you about halfway down and brought you to rest firmly on the ground. Thank you! Yay, there they are. Cove gave you an encouraging smile, but neither of you risked speaking yet. You briskly snuck behind the house and up to the old white poppy hill. And Cove was right, the entire hill was lit up, insects twinkling here and there with their pale yellow light. Cove let out a contented sigh, finally able to relax in full. He strode further up the hill to better enjoy the view. You walked along as well, letting yourself be surrounded by the twinkling display. Then, without warning, Cove plopped onto his back. He paid no mind to smacking his formal attire in the grass. All that effort! He put an arm under his head and stretched the rest of his limbs out. He was clearly getting quite comfortable in the dirt there. Plop. You sat down first and then fell back. You could see the stars when you looked up at the night sky.
I wonder if Dad will be mad about the grass stains.
He tugged at the collar of his shirt. He didn't seem concerned, just idly curious. I don't know. I hope not. His smile bent a little, and it went silent between you. The only sounds were the rustling of bugs in the breeze and the faraway crashes of waves on the sea. Dancing with the fireflies, stop. That is so freaking romantic. Either this or this. Okay, I'm flipping. We're flipping for fireflies or dancing. Heads for fireflies, tails for dancing. Hiya! Heads. Alright, we be catching fireflies. Hey, do you think we could catch fireflies together? Cove turned his head towards you with a bent grin.
I think that sounds like a plan.
You smiled at each other and Cove rolled his fancy sleeves up. Then he clambered up to his feet full of bug-catching enthusiasm. You got up and brushed off your clothes. A pesky blade of grass tried to stay stuck to your back. With simultaneous nods of your heads, you both ran around the hill trying to take hold of the flying creatures. Every so often, one of you would succeed. Like the children you once were, you would race over to the other to show off your catch. What had actually changed? The fireflies were as bright as ever, and you laughed together the entire time. The hour grew late, and the fireflies mostly dispersed until only a few stragglers remained. Then even they blinked out of sight, leaving you alone with Cove and your thoughts. It felt as though this was a night that would never end, but you knew it would have to all too soon. You were only grateful to have been a part of it. These were moments to treasure, and you already knew you'd be remembering them for a very long time. Oh, that was so sweet. Man, there is so many, additional ways that could be super cute. Like, you can confess to him there, you could dance, oh man. It was just so beautiful. What a beautiful night. Ah, that was wonderful. I loved it. I loved all of it. All right. Well, a solid step has been taken again. We'll see what we get next time.